Hello everyone. Welcome to SV Union High School and Junior College. Our subject today is Geography Standard 7th. We are going to discuss chapter number 5, The Winds. So children, let us begin with our explanation. If you see outside the window of your classroom, you can make a note of some things moving on their own and some things still. Which objects are moving on their own and which objects are not moving on their own and why? The leaves of the trees or the branches of the trees move. Why, children? When the breeze blows or wind blows. In this lesson, we are going to learn about winds and types of winds. Right from our lower classes, we have learned that there is air in all our surrounding. Air is everywhere. Though we cannot see air, we can feel air. And air is the mixture of various gases like oxygen, nitrogen, water vapor, carbon dioxide, etc. Air is everywhere in our surrounding. Now let us see wind. What is wind? The moving air is called as wind, and movement of air is always from high pressure area towards low pressure area. And the speed of the movement of air or wind, which we say, is called as velocity, and velocity is measured in the units of knots or kilometer per hour. We have learnt in our lower classes that the earth is surrounded by a protective shell called the atmosphere, which is a mixture of various gases, as I told you before. And the various layers of atmosphere are troposphere, stratosphere, ionosphere, mesosphere, exosphere. These layers of atmosphere exert pressure on the earth. Now we have learned that the air pressure is not uniform across the earth's surface. Air moves from high pressure areas towards the low pressure areas. And therefore pressure belts are created on the earth. In this above slide, we can see all the pressure belts that are created on the earth. Now see, near the 0 degree, we have low pressure belts. As you go towards the poles, there is a change in the pressure belt. We have a high pressure belt at 30 degrees. If you go still higher towards the northern pole, at 60 degree you have low pressure belt, and then at the poles you have polar low pressure belts. The same thing is in the southern hemisphere. Now let us talk about winds. Wind is the horizontal movement of air. The air moves horizontal because of the different air pressure belts that are created. So we can say that due to the pressure difference, there is an horizontal movement of air, and hence winds are caused. Now in this above slide, we can also see the original direction of the winds. Can you see the orange or yellow arrows in the diagram? Yes, they are the original. Those arrows show us the original direction of the wind. And the blue arrows, can you see the blue arrows which are in curved shape? They show us the changed direction of the winds due to rotation. Air pressure is not uniform, as I told you before. Air moves from high pressure to low pressure area in an horizontal manner. Winds are generated due to this movement. The extent of the difference in the air pressure affects the velocity of the wind. If there is less difference in air pressure in the pressure, winds blow with less velocity. That means if the pressure is less, the winds blow with less velocity. Less velocity means less speed. Winds blow with greater velocities if the pressure difference is greater. Something important that we should know about winds, children. Winds in the southern hemisphere blow with greater velocity. The southern hemisphere is mostly occupied by ocean. The stretches of land are very less in the southern hemisphere. In this hemisphere, the obstacle caused by the reliefs of land surface is almost absent, not there at all. As there is no obstacle, winds blow with greater velocity in the southern hemisphere as compared to the northern hemisphere. When we consider the earth as a whole, we find the direction of the wind is influenced by the motion of the earth. In the northern hemisphere, winds get deflected towards the right of their original direction, whereas in southern hemisphere they get deflected towards the left of their original direction. This direction has been shown by curved arrows in the figure that I showed you in the last slide. The rotation from west to east causes this change in the original direction of the winds. Children, let us try to answer some of the questions given on page 22 in your textbook by observing the diagram of figure 5.3. First question. Which are the winds in the northern hemisphere that blow from the mid-latitudinal high pressure belts to the equatorial low pressure belts? The answer to is easterlies. What is the direction of the westerlies in the southern hemisphere? The direction of the westerlies in the southern hemisphere is north west to south east. Next one. Which planetary winds blow from the mid-latitudinal high pressure belts to the subpolar low pressure belts in the northern hemisphere? Answer is westerlies. Next question. Why is the direction of the polar winds not the same in both the hemisphere? Answer. Polar winds in the northern hemisphere blow from north south and southern hemisphere blow from south north. Name the winds that blow in the northern hemisphere. The winds that blow in the northern hemisphere are easterlies, westerlies and polar winds. In which direction do the easterlies blow in the northern and southern hemisphere? In the northern hemisphere from northeast to southwest, and in the southern hemisphere from southeast to northwest. Winds are also named by the direction from which they blow. For example, westerlies are winds that blow from the west. The direction of blowing, the duration, the region covered, and condition of air determine the following types of winds. This above slide shows us the various pressure belts formed on the earth due to the uneven heat received from the sun. We have learned this topic in our previous class. And due to which air moves or air has a tendency of moving from high pressure area to low pressure area. This movement of air are called winds. Winds are of different types. As I told you, they are named by the direction from which they blow. Winds are of three types, namely planetary winds, local winds, and seasonal winds. We are going to see them one by one. Let us first begin with planetary winds. Planetary winds are so called because they occupy an extensive area on the planet Earth. These winds blow all around the year. Planetary wind in different regions are known by different names. They are easterlies, westerlies, and the polar winds. I hope you have understood this lesson till planetary winds. We shall continue this topic in our next module. Thank you, children.